Welcome to our deep dive, where we'll be exploring 5 recent research papers all about the fascinating intersection of sound and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's amazing to see all this cutting-edge work happening.
We're going to cover a lot of ground today.
Oh.
From music deepfakes
Oh, yeah.
to protecting our emotional privacy.
Sounds intense.
It is. We'll also be talking about smarter virtual assistants, groundbreaking advancements for people with speech impairments,
Wow.
and even multimodal depression detection.
It really shows how sound computing is going to change our lives.
Let's jump right in and start with those singing voice deepfakes.
Okay.
The paper, Deepfake Detection of Singing Voices with Whisper Encodings, takes us right into the heart of audio manipulation.
It's a real battle going on.
It is. On one side, you have people creating these incredibly realistic fake voices.
It's pretty scary how good they're getting.
And on the other side, you have researchers trying to figure out how to detect them.
Absolutely. Like a game of cat and mouse.
What's interesting is that this research uses Whisper, which is usually known for its noise filtering capabilities.
I see where you're going with this.
But here, they use it in a totally different way.
How so?
Instead of cleaning up audio, they're using Whisper's noise variant encodings.
Wait, so they're using noise to detect fakes?
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But these encodings act like fingerprints.
Fingerprints.
Little clues left behind during the deepfake creation process.
Ah, I get it.
So by analyzing those fingerprints, the model can tell the difference between real and synthetic voices.
Even when they sound identical to us.
Exactly. So now, when you hear a song online,
Right.
you can't always be sure if it's really your favorite artist.
Sure.
This research helps us question what we hear and be more aware of the potential for,
Deception.
Exactly.
It's definitely something we need to be aware of.
Now let's move on to virtual assistants. The paper SELMA, a speech-enabled language model for virtual assisting interactions, introduces this really cool new model called SELMA.
I've heard about this.
It's all about making our interactions with virtual assistants way more seamless.
I'm all for that.
Right. So SELMA is able to handle multiple tasks at the same time.
Oh, that's impressive.
You can tell it to play your favorite podcast, add milk to your shopping list, and remind you to call your doctor all in one go.
Wow, like a real personal assistant.
Exactly. And it does it all while simplifying that whole input processing pipeline.
So it's not just doing more, it's doing it better.
Exactly. SELMA is a big step toward virtual assistants that feel less like machines and more like, well, helpful companions.
I like that.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about privacy.
Okay.
The paper exploring audio editing features as user-centric privacy defenses against emotion inference attacks is all about protecting our emotional privacy.
Which is something we really need to think about more.
Absolutely. This research looks at how AI systems are being used to analyze audio data and try to figure out how we're feeling.
That's a little unsettling.
It can be.
Mm-hmm.
But the researchers here came up with a really interesting approach.
Tell me more.
They're using audio editing techniques, like messing with pitch and tempo.
Like what we do in music production.
Exactly. And it can actually mask our true emotions.
Oh, so like a digital poker face.
I like that analogy. It puts the power back in our hands.
That's empowering.
Now, while we're talking about safeguarding ourselves, we also need to remember those who face communication barriers because of speech impairments.
Absolutely. Everyone's voice deserves to be heard.
The paper, DIPCL, Dynamic Phoneme Level Contrastive Learning for Dysarthric Speech Recognition, focuses on dysarthria.
Which can make it really hard for people to communicate clearly.
Exactly. And this research introduces DIPCL, which is designed to improve dysarthric speech recognition.
That's fantastic.
DIPCL looks at the unique ways people with dysarthria speak.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. It adapts and learns, kind of like a tailor-made speech recognition system.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Imagine a world where everyone, regardless of their speech abilities, can easily communicate and access information.
That would be incredible.
That's the kind of future this research is pointing towards.
It's really inspiring.
Now, finally, let's dive into the world of mental health.
Okay.
The paper Multi-Modal Magic Elevating Depression Detection with a fusion of text and audio intelligence presents a really innovative approach to depression detection.
I'm curious to hear more about this.
It combines text and audio analysis to pick up on subtle signs of depression.
So it's not just what we say, it's how we say it.
Precisely. It's like having an AI companion that's really listening, both to the words and the tone of our voice.
That could be a real game changer for mental health care.
It could. Early detection and personalized support could make a huge difference.
It could help so many people.
But of course, we have to be careful about how this kind of technology is used.
You're right. Privacy and responsible use are essential.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have. It's incredible to see all the ways sound and AI are coming together.
It really is.
And the implications are huge for everything from creativity to privacy to accessibility.
We've just scratched the surface of what's happening in this rapidly evolving field. But let's take a quick break and we'll come back to discuss this further.
It has been a fascinating dive so far.
We've really only scratched the surface of what's happening in this field. But going back to those singing voice deepfakes for a moment,
Okay.
you mentioned a high-stakes game of hide and seek.
Right.
What makes this tech so potentially problematic?
Well, the implications extend far beyond just music. Think about misinformation.
Right.
Imagine someone creating a fake recording of a politician
Oh, well.
saying something totally inflammatory.
That's scary,
It's going to be hard to know what's real.
especially as the deepfakes get better.
Absolutely. And it's not just malicious stuff either.
Ah.
Even harmless uses can have consequences.
Like what?
Like personalized advertising.
Okay.
What if companies used voice cloning to create ads that sounded like they were from your family or friends?
That's a bit creepy.
It could be. It's a slippery slope.
We need to be aware of both the intentional and unintentional misuses.
Definitely. That's what makes research like the paper on whisper encoding so important. It
Yeah.
gives us the tools to be more critical about what we hear.
Exactly.
Right.
Speaking of critical consumption, let's talk about those smarter virtual assistants.
Okay.
We talked about SELMA being able to handle multiple tasks at once.
Yeah.
But how does that actually improve the user experience?
Well, imagine you're cooking.
Okay.
You need to set a timer, but your hands are messy.
Right.
With a normal virtual assistant, you'd have to stop, wash up,
Yeah.
and then talk to the device,
Not ideal.
right? But with Selma, you could just say, hey, set a timer for 10 minutes and play some relaxing music.
And it would just do both.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have to interrupt what you're doing.
That's pretty cool.
It's about making tech work for us, not the other way around.
It really is.
And it goes beyond convenience, too.
How so?
Think about accessibility.
For people with disabilities who can't easily use normal interfaces, a better virtual assistant could be amazing.
I see what you mean. That actually segues nicely into another aspect of accessibility.
Yeah,
We talked about the paper on dysarthric speech recognition.
right.
But how does DDI-PCL actually work?
Well, it's based on contrastive learning.
Okay.
It's like when you teach a kid to tell objects apart. You show them different examples and highlight the differences.
So for speech,
Yeah,
it's about teaching the model to recognize the different pronunciations in dysarthric speech.
exactly. DDI-PCL learns to identify the unique patterns of each person.
So it's not trying to fit everyone into the same mold.
No, it's about embracing that diversity.
That's amazing.
And it keeps learning and adapting as it encounters new speech patterns.
It's like it evolves along with the person.
Yeah. The potential impact is huge.
I can imagine.
People could talk to their loved ones, access information, participate in society,
Yeah.
all regardless of how they speak.
It's breaking down barriers.
Absolutely.
Speaking of breaking down barriers, let's go back to the multimodal depression detection paper for a minute.
Sure.
It has the potential to be so helpful,
Yeah,
but we also have to be cautious about the ethical side of things, right?
definitely.
How do we make sure this kind of tool is used responsibly?
That's the big question. There's no easy answer.
I imagine not.
We need transparency.
Okay.
We need to know how these models are made, what data they use.
Right.
We need to know if there are biases in the algorithms.
That makes sense.
And consent is crucial.
Of course.
People need to be able to choose if their data is used or not.
Right.
And we need to think about what happens if someone is flagged as potentially depressed.
Yeah.
How do we make sure they get help without being stigmatized?
That's really important.
It's complex, but it's something we have to address,
We really do.
especially as this tech becomes more common.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Now, I want to go back to that paper on emotional privacy defenses for a second.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the actual techniques they use to mask emotions in recordings?
Oh, yeah. They looked at pitch shifting, time stretching, form manipulation.
Okay.
Basically, they're changing how the voice sounds without changing the words.
So you're saying the same thing, but it hides how you're feeling.
Right. It's subtle enough that we might not even notice, but it's enough to fool the AI.
Like we're outsmarting the machines.
In a way. But it's an arms race.
How so?
As AI gets better, it might find ways around these defenses.
So we need to keep developing new ones.
Exactly. We need to make sure people have control over their emotional data.
Absolutely. This has been a really thought-provoking discussion.
It has.
We've seen the potential of sound computing,
Yep.
but also all the challenges that come with it.
Definitely.
As we move forward, we need to approach this tech with caution and make sure it's being used for good.
I completely agree. It's exciting, but we have to be responsible.
We do. We've only just begun to explore what's possible. But for now, let's take another break and come back for our final thoughts. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've talked about so much: singing voice deepfakes, smarter virtual assistants, emotional privacy.
Dysarthric speech recognition, multimodal depression detection.
It's amazing how all these advancements are shaping the world of sound, right?
It's mind-blowing. One thing that really stands out to me is this blurring between real and fake.
Yeah, the deepfakes are getting so good, it's hard to know what to believe anymore.
Exactly. And it's not always about malicious intent either. Think about those personalized ads we talked about.
The ones that sound like your friends or family.
Right. It might seem harmless at first, but it could really mess with our sense of what's real.
It's a slippery slope for sure. We have to be careful. But on a more positive note, we also saw how AI can help people with speech impairments.
That research on dysarthric speech recognition was incredible.
It was. It shows how technology can be used to break down barriers and make the world more inclusive.
Exactly. And that inclusivity extends to mental health, too.
The AI-powered depression detection.
Yeah. It raises some ethical questions, but the potential benefits are huge.
Imagine if we could catch signs of depression early on and provide support before things get worse.
That could change so many lives. It's a powerful example of how AI can be used for good.
It really is. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left feeling both excited and a little cautious.
I know you mean. It's like we're standing on the edge of something big.
We are. Sound and AI are coming together in ways we never imagined. It's up to us to make sure this technology is used responsibly and ethically.
I couldn't agree more. We need to keep asking the tough questions and make sure we're shaping this future in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly. The future of sound is full of possibilities. Let's make sure it's a future we can all be proud of. Thanks for joining us on this journey.